There's a single RPM habit that's silently destroying diesel engines across the country, and it's costing owners thousands in premature repairs. Professional mechanics see this pattern repeatedly. Drivers who think they're babying their engine by keeping RPMs low are actually creating the perfect storm for catastrophic failure. Diesel engines are powerful, reliable, and built for longevity, but only if you operate them in their designed RPM range. The truth is, your RPM choices can either make your engine last 500,000 miles or ruin it before it hits 100,000. We'll discover the 5 RPM mistakes that trigger premature engine failure. If you drive a diesel, this information could save you more money than any other maintenance tip you'll ever learn. Habit 1. Continuously running low RPM. Lugging. The first habit that separates smart diesel owners from those facing expensive repairs. Continuously operating below 1800 RPM under load. A practice mechanics call lugging that slowly suffocates your engine. When you cruise at high speeds, keeping your RPM gauge hovering around 1200 or 1500 RPM, you think you're being gentle on your engine and maximizing fuel economy. But what you're actually doing is creating the perfect storm for carbon buildup, incomplete combustion, and premature component failure. Here's what happens inside your engine during continuous low RPM operation. Diesel fuel burns slower than gasoline and requires specific conditions for complete combustion. At 1800 RPM and above, the combustion process aligns perfectly with the piston stroke, giving diesel enough time to burn completely and extract maximum energy from every drop of fuel. Below this threshold, especially under load, the diesel doesn't have sufficient time or proper conditions for complete combustion. This creates carbon deposits throughout your engine that accumulate on pistons, cylinder walls, intake valves, and fuel injectors. These black, sooty deposits act like insulators, creating hot spots in your combustion chamber that lead to overheating and uneven combustion patterns. The carbon buildup becomes a self-perpetuating problem. As deposits accumulate, they reduce compression ratios and disrupt airflow patterns, making complete combustion even more difficult. What starts as a minor efficiency issue becomes a major mechanical problem that affects every engine system. Professional mechanics report that engines consistently operated below optimal RPM ranges show carbon contamination patterns that mirror the symptoms of failed EGR systems. The difference is that RPM-induced carbon buildup affects the entire engine simultaneously, creating widespread damage that's expensive to repair. Fleet operators track maintenance across hundreds of vehicles, consistently find that drivers who maintain RPMs above 1800 during loaded operation experience 60% fewer engine problems and extended major component life by an average of 80,000 miles compared to those who consistently operate in the lugging range. Habit 2. Revving a cold engine high. Here's the RPM mistake that creates immediate and measurable damage. Pushing your diesel to high RPMs before the engine reaches proper operating temperature, a habit that destroys critical components within minutes. Picture this scenario that mechanics see repeatedly. You start your diesel after it's been sitting overnight, and within 30 seconds, you're merging onto the highway with RPMs climbing past 3,000. The oil is still cold and thick. Critical components like pistons and cylinder walls are running without adequate lubrication, and you're creating damage that accumulates with every cold start. When your engine is cold, oil viscosity is dramatically different from its operating specifications. Cold oil doesn't flow quickly enough to reach all lubrication points, leaving metal components in direct contact during high-stress operation. This metal-on-metal contact creates microscopic scoring and wear patterns that compound over time. The turbocharger takes the biggest hit during cold, high RPM operation. Turbos spin at extremely high speeds, often exceeding 100 RPM, and depend entirely on oil pressure for lubrication and cooling. When you demand full boost before proper oil circulation, you're running precision bearings without adequate protection. Modern diesel engines operate under extremely high compression ratios, creating tremendous internal forces even at idle. Adding high RPM operation before proper warm-up multiplies these forces on components that aren't ready to handle peak stress loads. Smart diesel operation requires patience during the first few minutes after startup. Let the engine idle for 30 to 60 seconds, then drive gently while keeping RPMs below 2000 until the temperature gauge shows normal operating range. This gradual warm-up process ensures proper oil circulation and allows components to reach optimal operating temperatures without thermal shock. Habit 3. Staying in redline too long. The third RPM habit that separates engine longevity from expensive failures: sustained operation at or near redline RPMs, creating extreme temperatures and pressures that exceed design limits and accelerate component wear. While diesel engines are built to handle high RPM operation, they're designed for short bursts of maximum performance, not sustained redline running. When you maintain RPMs at 4,000 or higher for extended periods, you're pushing every engine component beyond its optimal operating range. Sustained high RPM operation creates exhaust gas temperatures that can exceed 1400 degrees Fahrenheit. These extreme temperatures literally cook engine components, causing thermal expansion beyond design tolerances, creating stress fractures in pistons, cylinder heads, and exhaust manifolds. The oil system becomes overwhelmed during extended redline operation. Even the best synthetic oils begin breaking down at extreme temperatures, losing their lubricating properties precisely when engine components need maximum protection. This thermal breakdown creates acidic compounds that accelerate wear throughout the engine. Turbocharger damage during sustained redline operation happens quickly and dramatically. The combination of maximum boost pressure, extreme temperatures, and prolonged high-speed rotation pushes turbo bearings beyond their design limits. Professional mechanics report that strained redline abuse can destroy turbo bearings in less than 30 minutes of continuous operation. Fleet managers who monitor vehicle performance data report that trucks operated frequently at redline RPMs show measurable decreases in compression ratios within 50,000 miles. This compression loss reduces power output and efficiency while increasing emissions and fuel consumption. The solution involves understanding when high RPM operation is appropriate and when it becomes destructive. Short bursts to redline or passing or emergency acceleration are within design parameters. Sustained operation above 3,500 RPM should be reserved for specific high load situations like steep grades or heavy towing. Habit 4. Ignoring the optimal RPM power band. Here's the RPM mistake that costs diesel owners both performance and longevity. Operating consistently outside the optimal power band where your engine delivers maximum efficiency, torque, and component protection. Every diesel engine has a specific RPM range where combustion efficiency peaks, turbo response operates, and component stress minimizes. For most modern diesels, this sweet spot exists between 1,800 and 3,000 RPM, but many drivers never learn where their specific engine performs best. Operating below the optimal power band forces your engine to work harder to produce the same power output. When you're climbing hills or carrying loads at 1400 RPM, the engine struggles to maintain performance, creating excessive cylinder pressures and temperatures that accelerate wear patterns throughout the system. The turbocharger becomes inefficient outside the optimal RPM range. Below 1800 RPM, there isn't enough exhaust gas flow to properly spool the turbo, resulting in poor boost response when you need power. Above 3,500 RPM, the turbo is working harder than necessary, creating excessive heat and pressure that shortens component life. Fuel economy actually suffers when operating outside the optimal power band. While low RPMs might seem more efficient, incomplete combustion and inefficient turbo operation waste fuel and reduce overall efficiency. The unburned fuel becomes carbon deposits, providing no useful work while contaminating engine components. Professional mechanics use power band analysis to diagnose engine problems. Engines consistently operated outside optimal RPM ranges show specific wear patterns that reveal operating habits. Carbon accumulation, turbo bearing wear, and injection system problems all correlate with RPM usage patterns. Learning your engine's optimal power band requires attention to manufacturer specifications and real-world performance feedback. Most diesels show their peak torque curve between 2,000 and 2,800 RPM, indicating where the engine produces maximum pulling power with minimum stress. Habit 5. Over-revving on acceleration. The final RPM habit that creates unnecessary engine stress. Aggressive over-revving during acceleration that exceeds what's needed for performance, while creating excessive wear on precision components. Many diesel drivers believe that maximum acceleration requires maxing RPMs, but this approach wastes the torque characteristics that make diesels superior for pulling power. Diesel engines produce peak torque well below their maximum RPM capability, making over-revving counterproductive for both performance and engine life. When you rev a diesel past its peak torque range during acceleration, you're operating in a region where power output actually decreases while component stress increases dramatically. The engine works harder while delivering less usable power, creating the worst possible combination for longevity. Over-revving during acceleration creates unnecessary stress on transmission components that must handle peak engine output. The drivetrain experiences forces beyond what's required for effective acceleration, causing premature wear in clutches, synchronizers, and differential components. The fuel injection system suffers during over-rev acceleration patterns. High RPM operation requires extremely precise fuel timing and delivery, pushing injection components to their performance limits more frequently than necessary. This creates wear patterns that accumulate over time and lead to expensive injection system repairs. Turbocharger efficiency decreases significantly when over-revving during acceleration. While the turbo can produce maximum boost at high RPMs, the engine's ability to use that boost effectively diminishes beyond the peak torque range. You're creating maximum turbo stress while receiving diminishing performance returns. Professional drivers understand that diesel acceleration technique differs fundamentally from gasoline engine approaches. Effective diesel acceleration involves maintaining RPMs within the peak torque band while using gear selection to optimize power delivery. This technique provides better acceleration while reducing component stress. Smart acceleration technique involves understanding your engine's torque curve and using gear selection to keep RPMs within the optimal range. Most diesels deliver best acceleration when shifts occur between 2,500 and 3,000 RPM, allowing the engine to operate within its peak efficiency range. So, which of these RPM habits have you been practicing with your diesel? Share your experiences in the comments. If this video saved you from costly RPM-related damage, hit that like button and subscribe for more professional diesel maintenance secrets that keep your engine running strong.